Morgantown Land Reuse and Preservation Agency to order. Let me call the roll. Ms. McDonald is here. The secretary position is vacant. Ms. Rye is excused. Mr. Bailey is here. Mr. Mills is on his way, and Mr. Stranko is here. And the chair, Dave Satterfield, is here. With the permission of the agency as well as the public, I'm going to reorder our agenda order this evening, and immediately we are going to move to new business, item D. This is a resolution authorizing the Morgantown Land Reuse and Preservation Agency to acquire 2625 Pennsylvania Avenue in the amount of $25,500. Before accepting a motion, let me give a brief explanation of what we are doing. As folks are well aware, Adelheid Schaup has been very helpful to this agency, and in her work in trying to assist us, one of the subject properties that we were interested in buying was hers. Immediately upon our interest in buying it, she said it would not be appropriate for her to participate in this matter and that sort of thing, and we have understood that, and we have taken that to heart. Today I come to you with the proposition that I would entertain a motion that we purchase the property at 625 Pennsylvania Avenue in the amount of $25,500. What we did is we approached Ms. Schaup about this. Indeed, we were in the ballpark of the amount that she wanted. We were in the ballpark of what other properties surrounding it had gone for. One of the things that happened was she purchased it, and then she made improvements, basically raising the land, and it was an expense to her of $15,000. As we got an independent appraisal, it came back at $10,500. We believed, and we took this through one of our committees, that we believed that we would offer her the appraised value plus her improvements, the raising of the property, and that's how we arrived at the amount of $25,500. At this time, I'd like to have a discussion about that, but first I would entertain a motion for a resolution authorizing the Morgantown Land Reuse and Preservation Agency to acquire 625 Pennsylvania Avenue in the amount of $25,500. Is there a motion? There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Questions? Comments?
It's a critical piece in our plan.
Absolutely. Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion carries. Mr. Yeager, could you mark that the chair voted in the affirmative too? We will now return to the third order of business, which is correspondence. We received a letter from the mayor of Morgantown regarding the vacancy on council, and it was to Adelheid Schaup. Dear Ms. Schaup, on behalf of the Morgantown City Council, I'm pleased to advise you that if you've been appointed to the Land Reuse and Preservation Agency Board for a 3-year term, you will be taking over a term that is vacant. Your term will be as follows: January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2026. Please contact the city clerk's office at the above listed telephone number by email within 10 days of your appointment so that you could be scheduled for your oath of office, etc. Thank you for agreeing to serve on the Land Reuse and Preservation Agency Board. I'm confident that your knowledge and input will be greatly beneficial. Signed, Joe Abuganim, Mayor. Ms. Schaup has taken the oath of office, and I would invite her to the dais at this time because she will now participate as a regular member. Mr. Yeager, please note that in the official record that Ms. Schaup was not participating in the meeting, and that now we will redo the roll call and the notice of quorum. Ms. McDonald is here. The secretary is still vacant, but Ms. Schaub is present. Ms. Rye is excused. Mr. Bailey is present. Mr. Mills is here. Mr. Stranko is here, and the chair is here. We will now proceed with the meeting. Welcome, Ms. Schaub.
Thank you.
Public comment, subject to rules established by the board's bylaws. We can accept public comment if anyone would like to speak. It is for a 4-minute period. Is there anyone who would like to speak?
Say a couple words.
Sure, come on up. If you could say your name and your address, and give me 1 minute to get my little clock going here. Yes, sir.
All right, my name is Nick Chambers. I currently live at and own 541 Deckers Creek Boulevard, formerly known as Decker Avenue, which is right next to some of the properties on Pennsylvania and Decker Avenue, specifically the area formerly known as the Diamond Village, which I believe that this council has acquired. Is that correct?
In process.
In process. My presence today is I'd like to see if there are any plans to acquire any further parcels down there, including my own, which resides right next to that strip of land. And also B, there were some, what I understand is volunteers led by Mr. LJ Giuliani down there on my property last Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago actually, I believe it was November the 9th, with equipment. And they were cutting brush and trees and taking things out, and they were almost certainly on my property. If I didn't go out there and stop them, who knows how far they would have gone. I'd like to know if there's any plans to survey the property with any available funds. I'm in general in favor of the work that's going on down there, but I still don't want people coming onto my property and taking down my trees and things like that.
Understood.
I just like to ask if there's any plans to survey or have any boundaries established, because I'm not sure the parcel viewer, I don't think it's completely correct from the records that I have, at least in terms of its exact accuracy. But yeah, that's really what I'd like to acquire.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chambers. Thank you for your comments. We do not sort of engage in a dialogue, but we, in the interest of being open, transparent, following all public comment, I will respond to some of your questions. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, public comment is closed. Mr. Chambers, what we're dealing with at this point is that the agency was allocated $600,000 through ARPA funds. As we began at the base of Pennsylvania Avenue, moving, let me say, towards the river, we started to acquire property that engaged other public interest and that sort of thing. We've had folks talk to us and stuff like that. But as you can well imagine, the $600,000 runs a bit short. Part of what we're going to talk about when I make a couple other remarks is that the agency needs to work with City Council and other stakeholders to do some planning, to say, is the $600,000 the full amount that we're going to have? Is this an ongoing program? Do you want us to take the parcels that we have purchased or closed on or have commitments towards, stop there? Is there something else you want to do? And I would say in the first quarter of 2025, that's what this agency, other agencies, and the City Council probably need to have some conversations about. I will say that I was not aware of the specifics. I knew a group of individuals have been down there working and that sort of thing. And from an agency perspective, I didn't know where they were exactly, but I know that there's things like that going on. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask Mr. Yeager to work with the appropriate city official, and if you would give him your contact information and that sort of thing. I would also say that I can't speak for the folks who were involved or anything like that, but I would say that if errors were made, they were made probably with the best intentions. And I agree with you that generally, I think people are pooling together and trying to do the right thing. We certainly respect your ownership of your property. We'd like to engage you in whatever appropriate discussion is and that sort of thing. And again, if we had unlimited resources, I think we would have a full master plan And that's probably what we're crawling towards and want to sort of learn to crawl and then walk towards in the first quarter of 2025. Mr. Yeager, if you could take. Is there any other public comment? At this point, we need to elect a secretary. I would open the floor for nominations for Secretary of the Land Reuse Agency.
What's the secretary supposed to do?
And the secretary is basically a co-signer when I am not available. I don't know we've ever used Mr. Kirby in that way, but both of us are authorized to sign on behalf of the agency when needed.
Time's up. I think Adelheid would be a wonderful secretary if she would agree to do it.
Spending 5 minutes on the board, I think I'm ready for it.
Welcome to the team. Welcome to the team. So I'll put that in the form of a
Thank
motion.
you, thank you. Any other nominations? Entertain a motion to close nominations.
So moved.
Nominations are now closed. All those in favor of electing Ms. Schaup as Secretary of the Land Use Agency, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
You get a hat
Those
and a
opposed?
pen.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for your willingness to serve, thank you. Are there any presentations, Mr. Yeager? No, sir. Reports of officers and/or directors. Ms. Schaup, do you have anything?
Not to
Okay.
discuss publicly.
Ms. McDonald?
No.
Mr. Bailey? Mr. Strankin?
No, sir.
Mr. Mills? No, sir. I do have one. So, let me congratulate everybody on the good work we have done. Things are moving, and as you'll see in our work today and in our executive session where we try and figure out what the ends of this money will be, I think we will hit our targets and that sort of thing. What I would say is that the agency is now 6 years old. And with the exception of Ms. Schaup, it's the original agency. We were talking 5-6 years ago, we went out to the Botanical Garden and we built the world that we thought was going to be. A lot of things have changed. The agency is maturing. I think the City Council is maturing in how they view our agency, and our work with other agencies is maturing. What I'd like to do is I would like to come to you, or what my plan is, I will come to you next month and ask a subcommittee to take on the idea that in the first quarter of 2025 that we do some sort of extensive planning, that we really figure out what are our short-term and medium-term project goals. What is when we first came at this, we didn't know if there was any level of resources we need. We didn't know if there was any staff we needed. We didn't know exactly where our footing was. We know more of that now, and I think what we should do is we should undergo an extensive planning process, considering that now not only are we acquiring properties, but we're going to have properties that we need to maintain, we need to address. There may be more properties. We have 2 items on our agenda today. People are wanting to donate properties. So the activity of the agency has changed, and I just think it would be good for us to do something on a longer range planning basis and that sort of thing. I'm going to ask a couple of you next month to chair that effort, but I think it is something that this has become a very good instrument and body for the city of Morgantown, and it's something that we need to do everything we can to mature. So that will be on our agenda for next, not on our agenda, but it will be something I will be coming towards for you for next month, that to ask a small group of you to take on the planning, the proposal or the planning for planning, that early in the first quarter that we can have a retreat, and that indeed we can engage folks in the conversations in the topics that we need to. Report of committees. Property Management Committee, Ms. McDonald.
No report.
Okay. Greenbelt Connections Committee, Mr. Bailey.
No report.
City and Underutilized Properties Commission, Mr. Strenko.
Well, since we were last together as a board, we had a committee meeting, and it was a very productive one in which we reviewed all of the subjects that we're going to talk about under new business, including the 625 Pennsylvania Avenue matter. So I thank my colleagues for attending that meeting, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Report of the city manager is not here. The city attorney is not with us today. Mr. Yeager.
No additional report.
Okay, thank you. Matters of business. I would now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of October 24th, 2024.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any additions, corrections, discussions? All those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The minutes are approved. Thank you. Unfinished business. Berthier Estate property donation. Anything on that?
Yeah, so staff was able to contact and touch base with Mr. Armistead. He is reviewing that with their client. He thinks that they're very motivated to move forward, so we will be continuing following up with him.
Great. Thank you. The demo contract for the 2 houses in Lower Greenlawn. Mr. Yeager.
Still trying to make a determination if a demo contract is going to be needed or a bid process is going to be needed given the source of the funding for demolition, but we already have received one estimate to tear down 570 Greenmont, and we have just completed the asbestos sampling analysis for 635, 641 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Okay, very good, thank you.
So how are we going to determine if a bid process is needed?
I think we might be able to talk about it in executive session.
Okay.
Remember to bring that up. Okay. Additional source of additional funds to complete, that'll be an executive session in planning. The data collection on the status of all properties in Lower Greenlawn.
Yeah, so our JX team has completed a web-based map that will show everybody in executive session. But this kind of goes back to the conversation that Jessica and I were a part of with Urban Design Ventures about doing a basic conditions assessment, basically kind of gathering all the information to determine like what are the status of these properties, and that's something now that we have the platform for the web-based map that we can go ahead and build out and utilize going forward. And I think it's going to be a really good resource, so I look forward to showing you that.
Very good. New business. I would entertain a motion to, we'll put a motion and let Mr. Yeager explain anything. I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the Morgantown Land Reuse and Preservation Agency to acquire City Tax District 2nd Ward Tax Map 29 Parcel 134 in the amount of $25,000.
So moved.
Is there a second? Mr. Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is just to reaffirm what the agency already approved in September of this year by resolution.
By resolution. Very
Yes,
good.
sir.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving this resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The resolution is approved. Thank you. Discussion and/or action on an application to donate 612 Arlington Street to the Morgantown Land Reuse and Preservation Agency. Mr. Yeager.
Yes, so the Underutilized Property Committee met and had a discussion about this particular piece of property. It's one parcel of land that contains 3 lots. It's currently zoned B2. It's 0.13 acres or approximately 5,600 square feet in nature. And it would be considered a buildable lot even though it's below the minimum lot size of 6,000 square feet right now, just because it's an existing lot that's non-conforming. The underutilized property, after consideration, made a recommendation to the agency to move forward with the donation, to accept the donation.
Okay. We invited Mr. Hogan. Is Mr. Hogan here?
But the applicant is here.
Okay. Mr. Hogan, would you have anything you'd like to share with us?
Yes.
Please come up. Thank you.
I guess first I'd hope to attend the committee meeting prior to the board meeting tonight. I had plans to attend 2 weeks ago. I thought it was on a Tuesday. Arrived on Tuesday. It was on Wednesday, and I couldn't get off work the second time to do that. And then last week, again, had hoped to attend the committee meeting. Was informed by voicemail that it was at 4 o'clock, and I arrived at 3:50 and found out the committee meeting had been at 3. So I had hoped to attend those meetings. The only reason I bring that up,
Sure.
I mean, I know that the city of Morgantown, the people that work there are very busy, and have a lot to do, and sometimes, the communication maybe isn't what it needs to be, but that's understood given the volume of work that they do. So I apologize for not making those meetings, and my intention was to be there so that I could gather some information and provide you folks with some information regarding this property.
Thank you.
I guess what I was hoping to do today, and I'm not sure how far along this process is, if you guys are giving a thumbs up or a thumbs down in terms of the decision whether to accept the donation. My intention is to try to find out the process. I've indicated in my application that my interest is in probably to donate the property, but I've got to know, what the donation involves. Is that going to take care of all the liens, the fees that are assessed to the property, the transfer taxes, the attorney's fees, typical things that are involved in a real estate transaction, or will there be some things that I'm going to be responsible for? So my intention tonight, mine was to come here to this meeting, find out what the process was, kind of get educated from the members of this committee. And by the way, it's nice to meet you. I've heard from Ricky and his crew. I've heard a lot of really good things about what you're doing down in the lower Greenmont area. So, and by the way, either your father or your uncle really enjoyed him as a professor. So that was a long time ago. Anyway, so I would just kind of like to know what the process is. My intention is probably going to be to donate. I indicated that on my form. I said subject to review. I indicated with Ricky, Mr. Yeager, that I would like to find out what the committee is interested in doing, and then review that with council, and then make a decision as to how to move forward. I'm not sure how late to the party there or what we can do.
The committee recommended that we accept the donation, but we haven't made a motion right here now. I mean, if you think you need some more time and that sort of thing. Mr. Yeager, Mr. Stranko, you want to walk through what?
I'm just interested in I'm sorry.
Okay.
Is the proposed donation qualified on waiving or somehow satisfying these fees and liens? Is that what you're proposing?
Well, that's it. What does the donation involve, and what does it cover, and what am I responsible for, et cetera.
I'll let Ricky answer that, but before you do, it's important to remember we're separate from the city. I mean, as far as we have no control over what the city does with regard to fees or liens. Mr. Yeager, however, as a member of city staff, can talk to that. So,
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Stranko. So yes, I did speak to city administration, and they had no objection to either forgiving the liens or outstanding fees associated with the property if the agency would move forward with accepting your donation.
Okay, and I also know, I've talked with you about this, and I've left a message for the Code Enforcement Office, and also talked with one of the secretaries and one of the enforcement officers down there. We had talked before. I know that they had planned to do an asbestos assessment of the property. Of course, my concern when I got notice of that was that one was done in 1999, at which time we removed and remediated the asbestos in the building, if it was in fact there, down to the studs. Removed all the flooring, removed all the plaster, and then coated everything. And it was at that time, it was my understanding, of course it was a long time ago, that the city approved what was done. So I wasn't in favor of incurring an additional expense for what I considered something that had already been done. So I asked the development of the Code Enforcement Office, was that done? If so, what was the fee and what did they find? And I have not heard. If there's a fee associated with that, the question I would have would be, what is that, who pays for it? And the second question I would have is, I understand that they're moving ahead with the demolition process. I'm not sure what that entails. Have they solicited bids for that? I have a bid for that. And I'm just kind of wondering if something were to happen and they were to demo it prior to the consummation of the donation, who would be responsible for that cost? So those are some of the questions that I have.
Sure.
Yeah, I would say at this point, the matter's not ripe for us to deal with it today. So I'm going to ask that we just hold it in here. What I'd request is,
Why is that, Dave?
I guess the
I don't think he can answer. Ricky, can you answer all this?
Yeah, I can answer.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
with regard to, if I may.
Please,
Mr. Chairman,
please.
So with regard to the inspections that were previously done, those were not listed in the application, obviously with the fees or outstanding liens, so it wasn't ever filed, I believe. I checked.
They were paid. The cost to do the asbestos abatement and removal was paid.
Right, by yourself or
Yes,
the
please.
city? Okay, so there wouldn't be any additional costs incurred by you as the property
Oh,
owner if?
I'm sorry, the one years ago was done by me, was paid.
Right.
If there was this new one that was supposed to be done, I have no knowledge of whether it was done.
All fees and liens would be released.
Okay.
So you would not be responsible for any of those. As well as if you donated the property with the existing structure that's on it, you would not be responsible for the demolition of the structure that's
Okay.
currently there.
And that's what's listed here,
And
right?
yes, and I guess, well, that doesn't have, it does not have any cost for, if another asbestos assessment was done, that's not on there. If
That
proration-
cost has been incurred, but has not been leaned or is a part of the.
So we're paying for it?
Yes, exactly.
And then any kind of property tax proration or transfer fee.
That would be worked out with, if we get through this process
Okay.
with our legal counsel.
All right, at this point, and again, I don't want to throw up so many roadblocks at this point that if you folks are on a timeline due to any kind of time constraints, or you have to use an ARPA money by a certain period of time and then it runs out, I don't want this to be a stumbling block to moving forward. Because at the same time, I need some of those things, you know, I would like, if the board is interested in accepting the donation, get with the council to make sure that all our ducks in a row. And so I'm leaning toward going through with it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Tim, you're comfortable with it?
But I
Just a
don't,
couple
I don't want
points,
my
just a couple.
objections to prevent, to eliminate the possibility of it happening.
I want to make sure, and you just suggested it, but the city attorney will handle all the legal work here with regard to the property transfer, including the lien releases and all that.
Yes, sir.
So that's not a concern if we consummate this deal. I just want to make sure you understand, we can recommend this in a motion to recommend the city waive all outstanding fees and liens. And what you've heard is city administration has agreed to do that. But that's as far as we can go, is make that recommendation. I think you can see it'll probably happen.
And I can appreciate that, and I want to feel that I can be confident that from the city standpoint, all those things will happen. But I've tried to attend 2 committee meetings over the last couple of weeks and was told they'd be at a certain time.
Well, let me talk about that for a minute,
Yeah.
because it's easy to blame city staff for that. We're all volunteers.
Yes.
We all
Well, I
have,
understand.
can I finish?
Yes.
We all have jobs, and so really a big part of this is just herding volunteers into a meeting room and having a quorum established. So it's not easy. It might seem like carelessness to you, but from behind the scenes, there are significant efforts to schedule these meetings
And
and
that's-
to make them available to people who want to participate.
And that's what I tried to reference early on. I wasn't being, I was just trying to explain why I wasn't there at the meetings 2 times.
Okay, we're ready to do business with you in good
Okay.
faith. And we'll do everything we can to make that happen. I'm sorry for the inconveniences
Well,
you've suffered.
that's
but
okay, I don't mind, because as I said, I know city workers have more to do than they have time to do, and I know that you folks don't get paid for volunteering on these committees, and I greatly appreciate your service. I know that the city has trouble filling a lot of the positions on a lot of these committees, so thank you very much.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to make a motion.
Please do.
Ready to hear one. Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we accept the donation proffered by Mr. Hogan and forward to the city a recommendation that as a condition of that acceptance, that the city waive all outstanding liens and fees assessed against this property. 26 McKinley Street.
Yes.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, just to add to that there are no other liens, defects, or encumbrances with the title that would prevent us from moving forward with
Very
Mr.
nice.
Hogan.
I add that to the motion.
And this will be 612 Arlington Street.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 612 Arlington.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving the application to donate 612 Arlington Street to our agencies, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion carries.
And let me just say, and I know you've been frustrated, but,
Oh, not that-
but any one of us individually would respond to you. If you find that this is not coming together the way we just discussed, and you're not getting an answer from the staff, then you can call us individually. We'll work with you, okay? So we'll make this happen.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it works out for everybody.
Thank you, thank you. Last item of business under new business, discussion and/or action on application to donate 300 Overdale Street to the Morgantown Land Reuse and Preservation Agency. Mr. Yeager.
This is an application to donate the aforementioned property. It potentially contains 2 lots. From our underutilized property committee meeting, staff was not able to determine if the donation would include the additional lot that's adjacent to it and vacant. The property is zoned R1A, and the applicant was invited to participate and attend this meeting, but I don't think that they're here at the moment.
Move to table?
Move to table. The item is tabled.
What, I'm sorry, why are we tabling?
We're not sure about
The applicant's here and it's incomplete. The applicant's not here and it's incomplete.
Right. So staff did verify that there is a little over $1,000 in fees that have not been liened, but they are due to the city for fire service fees. Administration does not object to waiving those fees. If you want to move forward with business tonight, staff recommend that you conditionally approve it, provided that the donation included the adjacent property that we discussed in committee. That would be part of the deal.
So the subject property and the adjacent property?
Correct. Not just the structure, but the adjacent piece of property.
And as the city attorney looked at the tax issue here, I mean, he states in his application he has a tax problem.
Yeah, so that's where we would add in the subject to any other liens, defects, or encumbrances with the property.
I'm extremely pleased to see this on here. I had no idea that this was even a discussion for being donated. This has been a problem property for a long time in Greenmont, so.
So at this time, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I made a motion to table. I want to withdraw that motion. It sounds like we're ready to move on this.
So I would entertain a motion to accept the application of 300 Overdale Street with the following conditions. That we work with city staff and recommend that any regular liens
Encumbrances,
be
defects.
covered and defects. But also that we add the secondary parcel,
That's adjacent to it in the
which
same
is
property.
adjacent and adjoining, and
Correct.
that be part of the deal, that we get the entire thing.
Different parcel number, Ricky? Is it?
Yes, sir. I'm trying to, this is not. It's, let's see here. It's parcel 485. This is where the structure is here, and be parcel 483, which would be the adjoining vacant lot.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. So, Mr. Yeager, if you could get all that in the term of that motion about the taxes as well as the others. Is there any discussion?
Just want to make sure we don't get stuck with a tax bill.
Yes, sir.
So,
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to accept the donation of 300 Overdale and the adjacent adjoining lot, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion carries. Thank you very much.
can I just ask
Yes.
a question? So Ricky, I feel like the questions that Mr. Hogan just asked are pretty pertinent, and I don't know all the answers. I'm wondering if we could gather some information and just put it out publicly, what donations entail and what
Sure.
comes
Yeah,
with
it might-
doing that.
Especially as they move it past this phase and what they look like going forward. who they're
Right,
working with.
because I
Sure.
feel like we want to make clear, we're not forgiving tax liens, we're forgiving city liens and that kind of
That's
stuff.
it, yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay, cool.
That might be a good part of the Dominion Post article that may come out of today's meeting.
All right. At this time, we're going to be moving into executive session, and just for the public's notice, we will not be conducting any business following the executive session. So at this time, I would
Excuse me, an exemption under the Sunshine Act just for commercial competition with regard to property acquisition.
Can you make that in a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of us moving to executive session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are now in executive session. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, to come. Appreciate.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.